Well, hi and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to take a look at this question. Analyze the nature of transition from ideology to identity politics in India, 20 marks. So for this question, we are, um, I mean, for the model answer for this question, you can definitely open the drop down menu and from the YouTube video and you can download the model answer. Well, let's get to discussing the answer for this question. Okay, all right. So what are the keywords that we have here? We have transition, the nature of transition we're looking at, ideology politics, and identity politics in India. So we are to analyze the nature of transition from ideology to identity politics in India. So the directive word, if we were to reframe it, it says analyze. Now here analyze requires a detailed examination of the nature and the causes of this transition, which is what we're going to do with this answer. Okay, all right. So let's get started with that. All right. So what does the examiner expect out of us with this answer? One, some clear definitions and historical context for both the ideological and the identity politics. Second, certain theoretical insights and examples that we are to use from Indian politics and society, and then the use of relevant sociological thinkers and their perspectives. So for this answer, the sociological thinkers that we're going to use, that I've used in this answer, one we've got okay, so we have a slide. Okay, slide if I'm sure with that. All right. Okay, second. All right. Okay, we're fixed. Okay. So for this answer, we're going to be using. Wait. All right. So for this answer, we're going to be using uh, uh, thinkers such as um, Zygmunt, Zygmunt Bauman, right? So this is a guy who has talked about the changing nature of identity. We'll use that in the case of identity politics, and um, then we'll also talk about this guy called Lyotard. Right? Lyotard is this guy who has talked about the change that is coming from ideology with the decline of what he calls meta narratives and shift towards uh, you know uh, the rise of identity politics. And we're going to briefly also mention A.R. Desai from the Indian context, right, to give a context here from his work State and Society. And then in the conclusion, we've used this fourth guy called Frederick Barth, right? Frederick Barth. And he's got this work on ethnic groups and boundaries, and he helps to explain in the modern context what is the basis of identity politics, or where does that come from. So in this answer, we're using these four people: Zygmunt Bauman, Lyotard, A.R. Desai, Frederick Barth. You could obviously use somebody else. This is who we've used for this answer. So let us look at the structure of this answer. So first of all, in the introduction, what we're going to do is we are going to define what is ideology and what is identity politics. So we're going to briefly say something like ideology politics involves association with big ideologies like socialism or communism, right? And politics driven by that, which was a major era. And then in the modern times, identity politics focuses on identity assertion, could be on the basis of caste or gender or religion or language or race or something else. we're going to provide a viewpoint, a theoretical viewpoint from a sociologist, which in this case is Lyotard, right? So we're going to mention this guy Lyotard, and this guy says that there is the decline of meta narratives, and what he means by meta narratives is like these great grand ideologies that explain the whole world or seek to explain the whole world. Like communism wanted to give an idea about everything in the world, or capitalism says we're going to explain the whole economy, right? And these were these great narratives that were created. So as they have declined, right, the modern space for identity politics is created, according to Lyotard, right? And then we are going to come over and mention this guy called Zygmunt Bauman. So Zygmunt Bauman basically says that previously we were in a state of solid modernity, and now we are in a state of liquid modernity. And by solid modernity, he means to say that identity was fixed. It was based on stable ideas. You had work for life, you had belief in the nation, and you had an overlapping community with your parents. You know, you had a language that was your mother tongue and was stable, and you were living around in an area where you had shared that community. So all of these helped you to form a stable sense of identity. But today there's a lot of changing realities, and that means people don't have work for life. They're often changing multiple professions, reskilling, upskilling. There's a lot of movement involved, migration, immigration, and because of that, and then people's faith in religion, which provided them identity, has been shaken with secularization, and globalization has undermined the commitment to the nation. And so, with all of those things, today the identity that people have is often based through either consumer choices that they're making, or maybe the self-woven story that they're telling themselves. So this has led to a fragmented identity, broken down identity, like broken down into 1,000 bits. And so today identity based politics is also like that. It is quite a regional and a sub-regional idea which is fragmented, right? So we are going to mention these two people, which is going to give some sociological base to our answer here. Then we come over and talk about this second paragraph, right, in our answer, where we're going to say there has this in India. So we're getting to the Indian context now in this answer, saying that there has been the transition from ideology to identity politics in India. So previously, we had ideological politics like socialism, which was championed by Hindustan Republican Socialist Association or INC, especially in the anti-colonial context. We want to point out that in the wherever there were colonies of Britishers or other European powers, the left wing tended to be nationalist in nature. There was this big nationalist ideology because the right wing, which is conservative usually, was aligned with British interests. So there was an ideology driven politics around socialism, which was the case. And then post independence, we had briefly the rise of communist ideologies, as A.R. Desai mentions in his work State and Society, which was especially so that the welfare state failed to deliver the effective inclusive development for all. And as it failed to deliver, there was a time period maybe beyond 1970s until 1990, right, where there was the rise of communism. Where was the rise of communism? But with the collapse of USSR, that phase also came to an end. So ideology politics rises in this phase, but then it comes to an end. And then we have this next phase, post LPG reforms, where we start to see the focus on identity politics. Now, with post LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, globalization, we start to see that the focus shifts from ideology to identity. Now, we are mentioning a work here by a guy called Ronald Inglehart, right? Ronald Inglehart, however you want to say it, with The Silent Revolution. That's the book he wrote. And it says that as people have basically fulfilled their material needs, right, they are better fulfilled with the rising middle class. So now the focus has shifted towards cultural and identity issues. So we are saying that that has also happened in India. Now we're going to come to the third theme that we have, and we are going to mention the particular types of identity politics in India. So this is shifting the theme in our analysis. Now we remember that the question that we had was analyze, right? It said analyze the nature of transition, right? So what we've done is first we've commented upon it, right, upon how the transition happens in mentioned thinkers. Now we are going to come around and say in India, what kind of identity politics is happening. So caste-based identity politics, historical roots go back to Ambedkar's time, separate electorate, and then post-independence Mandal Commission, OBC politics gives that a new rise. Continues to be the case with the rise of BSP, Bahujan Samaj Party, primarily caste-based identity party, new concepts such as Mahadalit or Ati Pichda coming on the fore, and so this is something that continues to be mainstream. Language-based linguistic identity politics, anti-Hindi movement gave it the main spur, the main momentum push initially, and obviously there was the long-running Telangana movement alongside the Tebhaga movement, and today son of the soil movements, right, they continue to exist, such as Maharashtra only for the Marathis. This is often in the context that there's a lot of developmental inequality, people have insecurities, developmental benefits are not equally distributed, so there are demands for reservation, and often on the basis of language, or there is the threat to cultural identity, and so that maintains linguistic identity politics. Then we have religion-based identity politics. So, with the roots going back to the British divide and rule policy, then in the 1980s and beyond, rise of Hindu nationalism, and the continuance of parties like Shiromani Akali Dal, which is a religion-based party. So then we say, there has also been gender identity politics in India, women's reservation at the local governance level, especially, through these amendments, 73rd and 74th, had provided a big impetus, like a push forward. Gail Omved. So we're mentioning a name here. This is an important name when it comes to women's rights discussions in India. We want to mention some sociologists' work. So Gail Omved's work is on intersectionality. Intersectionality is the idea that women's movements or women's rights or women's concerns are just not women's concerns. So they can be different with caste, and they're overlapping with different religions, and they're overlapping with, let's say, rural or urban, or let's just say tribal women. So these are overlapping categories. These are intersectional ideas. We can't just isolate and understand women's issues. We've got to understand them alongside the overlap that they have in these different cases and the result of that. So having talked about it, we then come over to dealing with the conclusion. And the conclusion for us, we're going to bring this very insightful view, very nice view from this guy called Frederick Barth. So this guy says that ethnic identities, which is dominating the politics today, identity politics, ethnicity is not really shaped by cultural homogeneity, that everything you share about yourself, but it's how people define, and which is often defined by politics and media, right? In the discussions, the discourse that is going on in-group and out-group. For example, we talk about apne, right? Who is apne? Who are ours? So if somebody is living, let's just say, in Bengaluru and is from North Karnataka, would find in Bengaluru that everybody from North Karnataka is apne. But let's just say this guy now goes from Bengaluru to live in Hyderabad, and anybody from Karnataka that he finds is going to be like apne. Now this guy goes to live in Delhi. Anybody he finds in Delhi, right, from South India, is going to be like, okay, these are apne. Now this guy goes lives in Canada. Any Indian that he finds there is going to be like labeled apne, right? Ours, right? So this idea is very fluid idea. It's not based as much on what you share in cultural homogeneity, but how in-group and out-group is defined. And that is a question usually of politics and of the narratives that are going on, often in the media. So those are major shaping factors in identity politics of the modern times. Right? We're going to conclude that, and we're going to highlight the fragmented and the fluid nature of identity politics, thereby saying that today it is shaped by continuously by the forces of globalization, the consistent cultural shifts, and the regional dynamics that go on. Right? So that is the structure of our answer that we have had. And in order to download the video, you can definitely, I'm sorry, download the model answer. You can go down the drop down menu, and as always, please do like and subscribe and share and comment. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.